Hello, my dear ones. Always a pleasure to sit down and go over your cases with you. I just wish I had more time right now. I think it's coming where I'll have a lot more time to sit down with you. But it's been crazy, as you can imagine. And I bet you guys have been crazy too out there. A lot of things going on, you know. Take a look at this beauty. Look at this. This is just beautiful art. And this is Danielle. Beautiful art. Gorgeous. Beautiful stuff. Danny and Danielle, and listen guys, you break my heart here. Love you. Beautiful work. Love you guys. Thank you for the blessings. Wow, Lisa, beautiful. Just beautiful. Just look at this. This is from Lisa. Look at this. Is that not beautiful? Gorgeous. You know, opening yourself up to higher awareness is just so beautiful and so different. You know, man has acted like a grunt animal almost on this planet, and you know, these higher etheric levels are just so beautiful. And when we do ever get to our seminar, I would love you guys to do all the creative arts. I'd love to have an art room where you're getting into creative arts like this, associating all of the beauty of life and fruits and stuff like this. So just beautiful stuff. And think about also painting art from etheric temples and stuff. If you're a spiritual guide is taking to wisdom temples or temples of learning or cities of learning, which they have cities of learning actually. Most of the inhabitants of some of these lands live out in the suburbs or way out in the rural areas, in other words, I mean, and then they come into the city for learning. So there's cities, what I call them, cities of learning. There's temples of light everywhere that you can, you actually don't read books, it actually is light that comes through you. It's just amazing stuff, but beautiful. Love you guys. Beautiful stuff. Plaster them all around here, and I want to frame them. That's just gorgeous stuff, guys. We've got some, oh, look at this question here. It says, Robert, can you talk about MTHFR, gene mutation that prevents you from being able to detoxify? I've mentioned this before, and when the first time someone came in to me with this, that their medical doctor told them about this, you had to pick me up the floor. I couldn't help quit laughing. It hurt so bad because, I mean, it's getting pretty bad, you know. It's like what's going to be going on in some of these places where corruption is so deep now. The rats are running. And it's, I don't get into B12s at all. These are cofactors that produce chole, so I don't I don't even think about them. And I don't even supplement them whatsoever. I don't even think about them at all, like the Ds at all. These are all interactive factors, interactive with the sun energetically and things like this, and are created at the time of need. And some of these are cofactors like coenzymes and things like this, and covitamins and things like this, instead of actual vitamins. So I don't give that much thought. You know, medical doctors fixate on B12, and they fixate on all these things. And people are tired, so they pump up with B12. The problem with messing with nature, you know, chemistry, as I said many times, is in proper ratios. And everything is produced properly. Matter of fact, it's vital to have good bacterial action because you get a lot of the B12s and things from bacterial actions. So these are the things you don't disturb. A man just wants to come in and just disturb it all, and you can see what's happened to the health of the human race. Just about to end the human race So obviously their level of thinking has done nothing but bring down the human race. So you can't go allopathic in their nonsense because it's just ridiculous. It's stupid. And it's brought down the human race, deaths by the millions. We're bringing up the human race, healing people by the thousands and tens of thousands around the world, and showing them how that is, even without the gene. Half these people don't have this gene, I was told. Matter of fact, the people that I've worked with, that they were told this, detoxifying well and well healthy. So it's just, I don't know what the word I would want for it. It's like covering up narcissism. It's just like trying to cover that up with some type of pseudoscientific bullcrap that doesn't exist. And I love the people that call us pseudoscience. And I'm going, are you kidding me? I'm a chemist. I'm right into chemistry and physics. You cannot butt up against me because that's factual. That's what chemistry is. Although I don't go too far into the world of theories, because theories are ridiculous. And with the current chemical theory, it's ridiculous. You know, I was talking to a chemist in my office who was come to me for help. And he was red all over, and he was burning all over, and he said, man, I got into some very alkaline chemistry. I have alkalosis. And I said to him, I beg you're a chemist, aren't you? And he said, yeah, I am. How'd you know? I said, because that's your theory. I said, it's not I said, the reality is you're in acidosis. He argued with me, but he kept going on the detox. So one day he came in real sweaty. I mean, he was sweating up a storm. I handed him some pH papers, and I said, give me some sweat. It didn't turn that paper purple. It's yellow as all banshee. Matter of fact, I hardly even changed it. And I said, what do you think? So, you know what? I don't buy into none of that, and none of you should either. You know, keep your focus on proper detoxification, what's healthy in foods. Think holistically. Don't tear apart. You know, we start tearing apart things, you start losing any sense of semblance of reality. And the more nano you get, the more lost you get. It isn't where you retain the view, you get more lost because you're mind chasing it. You're writing the mind, and the mind can't be observatory. It is focused. Thinking is focused attention. The now is expanded attention. When you focus, you're limited with your attention to what you're focusing on. That's common sense. That's why when you stop thinking altogether, you go, boom, you start seeing all kinds of things. Because you're not lost in thought. And the problem with our intellectual communities, they're lost in thought. And so things just stack them on top of another, stack on top of another. They don't even know what's up. You have to pull back spiritually. And these are all states of consciousness. And there's endless ones. And I'm seeing in just the physical side of creation. And just on this planet. Just in the human psychic alone, there are multiple states of consciousness that you can enter into. And within that state of consciousness, everything exists for that experience. Kind of like buying a cruise package. You come down here, you bought a cruise package to the planet Earth. And in that package has these different states of consciousness. Pick one. And you can go up and up and up, and you could go backwards if you wanted to, but not too many do, but some. But forget about the MTHFR gene. That's ridiculous. And this is just a common thing out there now. And it's like, tell them they got a gene that they can't detoxify. They'll not stop ever until they're totally joined us and get it. Let's see. This was a question from L. Klein, Klein. That reminds me of some Amish healers, friends of mine. They're called Chyme. Here's the question. Dear Dr. Morse, thank you for all your videos. You're welcome. I haven't seen you talk much about restricting fat while on a fruit diet. Many people claim that one should limit one's daily fat intake to 10% of one's calorie intake in order to have better control over blood sugar levels. All right. So one should have a daily fat intake of 10% to have better control over blood sugar levels. Fat doesn't control blood sugar levels. I mean, obviously, if you have too much lipids, you're going to see it stored as glycogen, you know. I mean, it's going to be broken down a little bit, but, you know, too much lipids, of course, causes ketosis. Whenever you get out of the realm of the normal ratios of lipids or fatty acids to your proteins, and look at that in mother's milk. If you look at it in mother's milk across the board, it depends on the size of the animal or vertebrae, but pretty much it goes like this. The carbohydrates in milk are the most. That's your sugars. That's the highest content of anything in a milk is your carbohydrate content. Half of that as a rule, but particularly in mother's milk, half of that. So you're about 7% carbohydrate in mother's milk. You're about 3.5% lipids. Now in monkey's milk, that's more up about 4.5%. But I'll have to tell you, with man's lymphatic conditions, I think with that absorption's fixed, human mother's milk would end up being around 4%. About half that of carbohydrates, and then the protein content is half of that. When you realize how proteins are so acidic and damaging, you realize why they're at the tail end of the, not the front end. And man is treating protein like it should be at the front end. Well, you get burned doing that, badly. And that's been man's problems. And it's oxymoron to the chemical composition of milk, which is the starting factor for most infants, of course. And then from that into solid foods. So you have to look at those ratios, and the ratios are important because of the way the body's designed, the pancreas, and the way the cells, the need for carbon as energetic sources, not so much the need for amino acids as growth and repair, but also carriers. There are amino acids, many amino acids are used as carriers. Fatty acids, of course, are essential, but not heavy amount of them. See, the problem is we like to treat symptoms, and more is better. So when you have a symptom, you could go on up with the lipids until your pain goes away, but then you could brought yourself into toxic levels. I remember when the Gerson Clinic was recommending 100,000 units of beta-carotene and 100,000 units of vitamin A. Well, the FDA came after them and said, you know what, that's way too high. In a way, I'd agreed with them, because oils are some of the most toxic part and the most concentrated part of a plant. You don't want to take too much of them. That's why essential oils are not well viewed by the FDA to be internally used. And Germany only allows a few drops. So is what I hear. So I don't know. I can just say that when you start asking about those sort of things, I'm more a natural thinker now. I don't even get into those intellectual digs anymore, because what the percentage of lipids in fruits, berries, and melons picked ripe and grown properly is sufficient to keep a huge gorilla huge, orangutan huge and powerful. So whatever percentage that is. But again, in terms of percentages in the milks, you're at about 3% in humans. Now, when you start getting up into the herbivores, the elephants and the cows and stuff, you're at about 16% protein, I think. I'd have to review that. We have that up on our website, and I just can't remember the lipid to protein content, but you're way on up the bigger the vertebrae, which only makes sense, in that way. But when you look at it naturally, you're not supposed to be eating your food. Am I getting all my essential fatty acids? I'm getting the A's, the B's, the C's, the D's, the E's, and the F's, and the G's. I mean, that's the sort of thing, is that man is over-intellectualized, therefore he's lost his happiness by that. You lose your happiness when you have to figure out is what you're eating is okay for you. Instead of going, this is so good, I feel so good, and leave it at that and go on. But we have to over-intellectualize things, and then we have a whole system of intellectualism that's way out in left field. And then, of course, they move it. Then our field, the naturopathic field, is not, it's gone a little while too with supplements and stuff. And it's just that the focus is all wrong. When you focus on symptomology and not cause, then you're not going to be near as successful. Of course, you're not going to be totally successful ever. And then, of course, death is early on still, because there's no fixing causative factors. It's addressing symptomology only. And it's that's not an area, we can't do that anymore. You can't address symptomology and cancers and stuff anymore. It's killing them right and left. I feel sorry for, Michael Bluebay's son. There's a leukemia case. Kids love leukemia for some reason. Not a difficult, they call it a cancer, but it's not difficult to clean up leukemia. We've done thousands of cases of leukemia. And, you know, we're going to hang tough during this therapy. Yeah. And they actually told him that his little boy has a 90% success, a possibility of living. If they take off the 0, they probably are right. If they take off the 0. But to tell Michael that his little boy under chemotherapy has a 90% chance to survive it, I hope he goes after him when the end comes. That's all I can say. The kid might survive it, but I don't know. So, Lukas, let's see here. I'm not sure about that. I'm more natural thinker. You know, whatever the fatty acid content is in the food you eat. If you feel like you need more, I guess you could go to the avocados and things like that. But, you know, fatty acids is a rule. I mean, the need is there. You got the huge lymphatic system. You've got all the things that lipids are used for. But in terms of affecting blood sugar levels, I mean, of course, lipids could affect blood sugar levels if you're on a high lipid diet, of course. But why would one be on a high lipid diet? You know, that's the thing. If you're on a good diet of fruits, berries, and melons and some salads, you're not on a high lipid diet. And why? There's no other food designed for the Homo sapien other than the fruits, berries, and melons. You can eat the salads if you want, but those are more designed for the big boys. You know, the elephants and the horses and stuff like that. I find that I feel better when I have more fat. Well, it's anti-inflammatory. That's another thing about this. It's antacid. So you would tend to feel better if you're acidically. You would tend to feel better. And I think that's why the ketogenic and some of these things that were originally using high lipids, people were feeling better on it. Because remember, your lymphatic system is a lipid-based system. So, and we've talked many times about why that is vital because of the acids. You know, when you're dealing in acids and electrolytes, you can see you burn your electrolytes. You can see this initially when you start consuming a lot of electrolytes at your fruits and the berries and the melons. These are high electrolyte foods. So you can see that the urine still discharges the electrolytes because your urine goes alkaline when you're not filtering. And therefore, you don't see your acids coming out yet. You see your goodies, your electrolytes coming out. So there's a hydration, there's an ionization. Ionization means that there is that movement of electrons across from a base, from an alkaline metal to an acid, where protons are dominating the electrons. You're going to move more electrons, which makes an element more base, into an acid, ionizing it. And that is a sense of bringing it into a state of balance. Neutralization, so to speak, because there's saturation within that thinking. So, but you just want to keep everything in percentages properly, then everything works well. So getting in, moving the lymph, and you also have to look at absorption. That's another important factor you have to think about, guys. Remember, fatty acids are absorbed through the bowel wall, right? The small intestinal wall, right? Into which capillaries? Blood or lymph? Just pick up a medical dictionary and you'll find it's lymph. So it moves into the lymph capillaries. Remember, I told you that we found an old A&P book that shows the duct from the small bowel lymphatic capillaries to the liver, taking fatty acid absorption to the... Think about why the blood couldn't take fatty acids in it. You have to be careful what you put in the blood, affecting blood viscosity and pH. So you can't just absorb everything into the blood and say that's going to deal with it. Don't work that way. God's smarter than that. So modern A&P books do not show this duct. Remember I told you that. I told you I had about 3-4 medical doctors in a class of mine, and they had never seen that duct. So that's the issue here. Are you malabsorbed? And if you're malabsorbed, you're not absorbing fatty acids well at all. And so you're going to feel that as well. And it could be you feel well because you're increasing the amount you're consuming, which helps to buffer the lack of absorption of some. Possible. Because half of us are malabsorbed. I would say probably 3/4. But it's enough to say that when that takes place, all your vitamins, all these things are not being absorbed. So this whole concept of deficiencies and stuff, you cannot go into that world until you fix what? Until you fix your diet, right? And then you go in the body and you fix proper digestion. You fix proper absorption, which is the lymph system, right? Proper digestion is what? Gallbladder and pancreas being the main digestive organ, right? Then, of course, we want to go back to the gallbladder here, too. Go back to the gallbladder and lipids. You could have a gallbladder problem suppression and not deal with lipids well. So there's so many factors involved in this question in terms of, are you absorbing your lipids? Are your lipids getting to the liver in the first place? What's the condition of the liver or the gallbladder? Look at these sort of things, because until you fix all that, you can't surmise that you're deficient. You're not getting it in your diet. You can't say that. Not until you fix these things. And, of course, here comes the adrenals. Now, I've said this, but I've never seen anybody in the tens and tens of thousands of iris pictures I've examined and did analysis on. I've never seen anyone without an adrenal gland weakness. Some very little and some a great deal. Some scary. Tilla just had one in a state of atrophy, and not good. She's had to pump herself up on, your 5 energy drinks and stuff like this because her adrenals in her state of decay. Not good. And your adrenals produce what? 24, 25 mineralocorticosteroids. So without a proper adrenal health, you're not producing adequate steroids to utilize the minerals. So you got all these factors to think about before you can even sit there and suggest that it's not in the foods and it's not in, and you're deficient in it. You got to fix absorption. Then you have to fix utilization. Again, steroids and hormones. And of course, all of that is being impacted because of improper elimination. And the reason of improper elimination, because the ingestion was so acidic. Acid-forming foods, proteins. If you want to damage your body, have a high-protein diet. Simple. And it is factual. So you see all the different things we have to do before we can get into these sort of things and think about some of these things like that. When I have little fat, my hormones seem to when I have little fat, my hormones seem to get unbalanced insofar as loss of sexual drive. That's interesting. Well, that's because your cholesterols and stuff, my dear, are in the matrix of even estrogen and testosterone. So there's a lipid impact on all your gonadals. But then you want to look at other factors too, the adrenals and the gonadals and all this sort of thing, the pituitary and that sort of thing. I assume this is because I don't metabolize fat very well, and that is possible. Very, very possible. You might not even be getting the fatty acids from the small bowel up to the liver itself. You might not be able to do that well. So there's a lot of preconditioned thinking you want to look at. You want to really look at that body and fix it up first. And then you could make these statements maybe. I mean, you definitely can feel the difference, but it does suggest that you're not metabolizing your fatties. Whether you're getting them up there would be another question. Look at your eyes and see if you have that malabsorption ring around the bowel wall there. It's beautiful that we have a science we can just go look at our own eyes and go, oh, that's a reason right there. It's not the gene, MTHFR, blah, blah, blah. I haven't noticed improvements in my blood sugar control when I have very little fat. In fact, it sometimes appears to me that more fat is helpful. I don't know about that. I wouldn't see how that would be noticeable in terms of, because lipids would tend to me, would increase blood sugar. But you know where you got to go for this, don't you? The adrenals. You got to go to that adrenals for blood sugar control. Your adrenals control sugar metabolism. So if you're diagnosed with hypo or hyperglycemia, which is a low blood sugar or high blood sugar, and it's not a type 1, then you're in the adrenals. And you just have to fix the adrenals and kidneys. And it doesn't matter what sugar you have when it's sugar metabolism. It doesn't matter whether it's the fruits. Matter of fact, we were just talking about a case. Marcy was telling me another case of type 1. 3 weeks. Now, they were on almost 60 units of insulin. 3 weeks on fruit only. They're down to 17 units of insulin. You tell me. Medical doctor can't believe it. He said, I can't attest to this. He said, I can't believe it. He said, you're telling, and he knows. And he said, on fruit, he said, I can't believe it. I don't get this. He said, but your blood sugar, you're down. I can't believe it. Fruit. Again, going back to fructose. Why in the heck would you convert fructose to glucose? Inferior, you don't. You use fructose, carbon right off. right off, and easy to give itself. You know, fruits give their energy so much easier than vegetables. It seems like you need extensive enzymatic action on vegetables, and you see that's why you have grinders as herbivores, the grinder's teeth, the jaws that grinding that cellulose down. Then you have 7 to 9 stomachs. So that's what I'm thinking, Lucas. Oh, this is a good take too, my friend. You're a pretty smart guy. This is a good take. I am trying to solve this by doing liver gallbladder flushes and detoxification. Okay. Now I want to bring this up to you guys. Do not overdo liver gallbladder flushes. There's no need to. Your diet alone will dissolve stones. Right? Stone formation is an acidosis experience. So you will dissolve your stones. But I do recommend liver gallbladder flushes. I've done several. But I don't do them at several years apart. Because when you do a liver gallbladder flush, it's actually a liver gallbladder spasm. And I've done that on a lady once who had cirrhosis real bad, and I had her three months on raw, and the liver's looking good, the enzymes are looking good, and she got pieces of liver flush. And that woke me right up. Woke me right up. So you want to be careful. You know, always be careful. We're not here to hurt anybody and hurt yourself. And remember, that's spasms. So if you do a liver gallbladder flush, do one, and do one maybe 6 months or a year later, unless you see a lot of stones. Then maybe do another one in a month or so. And then don't do once one. And don't do the salts or the magnesium citrates. I mean, some of these things are unbalancing to the body's chemistry and not worth it. A simple gallbladder flush is not difficult. This phosphate liquid, even from a standard process, gets stones out. Raw foods get stones out. So, you know, don't freak out too much there, but I would be working on my liver gallbladder. Again, Lucas, take a picture of your eyes. There's going to be you're going to see your liver gallbladder right in your eyes. You can see your bowels. You can see if you're malabsorbed and not getting fatty acids up to the liver. You can see all these things, see the state of your adrenal glands. So that's where you want to look. Ooh, I have to run to lunch. I keep saying that, and then I don't come back because I get tied up with all these cases. But I do have to go. But I will come back and promise you, I'll be back and finish them. So I love you guys, and hang on. I'll be right back. Told you I'd be back. See? I made it this time. Well, this is kind of a long one, I think. Wait a minute, we got attached pictures here. Let's see what we're going on here. Oh, picture of the eye. Oh, good genes here. Let me see what's going on. Oh, picture of the other eye. Okay. Let's see what's going on. Dear Dr. Morse, you are the man. Thank you. Love you too, Mom. It's Tom. Hey, Tom. From Thailand. Tom, you've got to send us a couple of freight cars full of Thai fruit. Oh, my God. Don't you wish fruit had like a shelf life of a couple of months? Man, you're over there in Thailand. That's an incredible place. Not only have I listened and learned from you over the past 2 years, thank you, my friend, I've challenged the teachings and experienced the effects firsthand. Now that's the kind of attitude and forthrightness and everything else that you need. Challenge it. Take it on. Ride it like a bull. You know, just remember though, when you take this on, it's not symptom free. You are walking down the road to Wellville, but remember, all your old haunts can come back to haunt you because you've suppressed or treated or in some way suppressed the symptom without addressing the cause. Any of you guys that suppress the symptom without addressing the cause, the symptom will be back. Generally with a vengeance. And you guys that have suppressed your skin conditions with steroids can testify that every day in a court of law. That it suppresses, and then when you stop, it explodes. And it's just that way with everything. So good job, Myron. Got my butt kicked a few times. Did you? Oh, I got to hear this. Because sometimes you can. This is why I say the herbs are the key. Wherever you get them, who cares? Find them, though, and find them for the kidneys and adrenals, GI tract. Because you really want to go after these tissues while you're detoxifying. You'll have a better experience. Sometimes when you're just trying to detoxify with foods alone and rebuild, longer and sometimes rougher. Especially on low-quality fruit and stuff like that. I've had some deep healing to work on these last 20 months. Wow, man, you got my interest up. Fortunately, I'm now pain-free. Oh, wow. And on my true path in the healing arts. I recently took a month-long raw food training course where I experimented on all the nuts and seeds and documented the results on my YouTube channel. Well, now you're getting me more intrigued. All right. Inspired by Nature. So his YouTube channel is called Inspired by Nature. Love the name. Love the name. I've been able to prove to myself and share with the viewers the levels of acidity within nuts and seeds and how they can compromise a detox. Thank you. Thank you. I've said this, for years, and people kind of look at me like I'm nuts. No pun intended. But this is true. And it's not. It is true. This deals with acidity. And the thing, nuts are okay when you're healthy and you have a few here and there. No big deal. Of course they're not. Horrible for you. But when you're highly acidic, you don't bring acid-forming chemistry into you because you're going to get the blowback. Acid on top of acid only yields more acid. It doesn't yield neutralization. It doesn't yield any of that. It's not even chemistry. The problem, I think, in some of these biochemists' minds and stuff is that the body is more in a state of alkalosis as opposed to acidosis, which is totally untrue. Therefore, they look the opposite of the way you should look. Well, you can't afford to look opposite when you're suffering. So, good job, man. And I tell you what, I appreciate you guys. I've been doing this all my life, and the learning curve has been long. Ups and downs and backs and forwards. You guys are going to take what we put together and what we've found in all our years, and you're going to make it better, and you're going to make it more expansive, and you're going to make it more on point. And that, you couldn't hope for anything more. And that's what it's supposed to be, though. When you discover something and you're working on something, then you hand it over to the folk, and then they expand it and make it even better. And that's how creation should run. But you also have the negative influences, of course. You have the positive and negative aspects of creation. And therefore, you'll have some back moments and some forward moments. It's just life on the rock. You've done and continue to do an amazing job passing on the spiritual... Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that one. Of healing and knowledge. I'm looking forward to level 2. Hope you're teaching next year where you will receive a big hug. Well, I hope too, because I need a big hug from you, my dear man. Who is this? Who am I talking? Oh, Tom. That's right, Tom. Yeah, I would like to meet you, Tom. I tell you what, you're a good man. I really appreciate what you're doing here because document it on yourself. See on yourself. I've just experimented not only on myself, but tens of thousands of people. So I get to see firsthand. It's one thing to be a practitioner and you're working in this field and you're working on all these people and seeing your results as opposed to someone that reads a book and gives an opinion. There's a big difference, in someone that when you work years and years and years with people day in and day out and you're pulling them out of these levels, we learn a lot. We learn a lot more than reading someone else's opinion in a book. That's for sure. So, and like I said, we'll all learn and grow more and more with this and nail it down better and everything else. And that's exciting. That's exciting because all apathy needs to come over to our side. We all need to merge with common truths and then expertise ourselves from there. Tom's been on 20 months now on raw food. Mainly fruit and herbs, removing around 30 uncomfortable symptoms. Tom has removed over 30 uncomfortable symptoms. That pretty good? Pretty dang good in 20 months, Well, a little over almost 2 years, not quite. It takes, in all reality, it takes a good year to really get in there. And 2, not much of a stretch, I'm currently concentrating on rebuilding the nervous system. Excellent, excellent. So remember, you got your adrenals, neurotransmitters, because remember, when you remove the inflammation or the acidosis out of the body, which is stimulative, which is edemic, all these factors that can impress upon tissue to function, doesn't do that anymore. So now everything kind of just goes down in kind of a mode. I've been acidic and inflamed for years. Now I'm cooling off now. And that brings everything down. Well, if you already have things down, it can bring things down a little lower. Like adrenals. You can have, let's say you had 90 over, already low, and you start detoxing. You could get down in the 70s and 80s and really feel like this detox isn't working. I'm more tired than I was before. That's what people don't understand about detoxification. That is a misunderstanding. And the problem with that is some people just look at something and turn away and then go the other way without digging into things. And understanding that when you start rebuilding anything, nothing's symptom-free. When you're talking about moving out tumors, heavy mucoid plaque that's black, that's been in your lungs or in your bowel walls for years, it isn't pleasant. It isn't pleasant when it comes out, but be excited that it's out instead of in. Every time I would get nasty stuff out of me, I would just go, yeah, what else is in there? What else is in there that I can get out? And make it a personal challenge to clean up the human body. And in that process, you will then open your spiritual doors to the emotional, astral, mental worlds. I was telling you about astral travel, and I keep saying John. I don't know why I was fixated. Somebody already mentioned it's Robert Monroe. I was thought it was John Monroe, but I do apologize. It's Robert Monroe, Monroe Institute. I remember reading some of their material, and I remember reading a couple of his astral books. My understanding of Robert Monroe is a major astral traveler, supposedly mapped out the astral world pretty good. I don't know. So interesting, be an interesting fellow. I've never met him, but send a lot of people to the Monroe Institute, because if you can work on trying to put your attention outside of your body and you get used to that, you'll be a traveler within the dimensions of God and still enjoy your time here, but in a higher level. So it's just all fun. You're already an out-of-body traveler. You just don't realize it. When you lay that body down at night and you're in the dream worlds, you're basically in the astral world, sometimes in the mental worlds. You're definitely out of the body most of the time. Some of you feel yourself rolling back in when you wake up in the morning, things like that. Okay, so I'm taking all the right herbs plus licorice root. Good job. Yeah, when your blood pressure is low, you got to take that licorice root. And that, of course, it helps to control blood sugars. And it's just an anti-inflammatory, so it's all good. It's all good. I love licorice root. His BP is 94. Here we go. 94 over 63. Now, the bottom is 63, so he's not going to go hardly any lower than that. So his 94 is real, probably. Excellent. Now, if he was 94 over 80, that'd be a problem. Because 60 would be textbook blood pressure diastolically. That's kidney pressure. 60 is perfect. Imagine being 80, which is 20 points too high. That means your kidneys are inflamed and in trouble. But the adrenals are still down at 90. So remember, when you see higher blood pressures, you're seeing acidosis. So you're seeing edemic. You're seeing all kinds of things that are happening that inspire this. But you also see the adrenals kicked up, so the top number, systolic, tends to be puffed up. So I've seen this for years, and when you start to bring the kidneys in line, the bottom number, of course, goes down to where it should be because you're getting the kidneys fixed. But it also pulls down the top. And he's not this way, but if you have someone that had the 94 over 80, ooh, you want to hit the adrenal 400 glandulars, and then you might even have to add licorice with an adrenal herbal formula, because you're going to get that 80 down to 60. That's going to drop 94 down to the 70s probably, or low 80s, and that's snooze time. That's extreme chronic fatigue time. real low neurotransmitters. And you were right about your nervous system, Tom. You have low neurotransmitters, right? So the best thing you do is inspire that. Use the herbal and the licorice root, the herbal adrenal with the licorice root. But I want you to also be thinking in the back of your mind about the pituitary. Get your eyes and make sure, Tom, you don't have a little pituitary influence. Because if you work and work and work, can't get your blood pressure up, you might just see if there's somebody sitting down on that. Might be the pituitary gland. His heart rate's 61, good rate. We put a pacemaker in at 60. Your heart rate stops getting into the 50s, and so you're going to get a pacemaker. And they set those at 60. And have been after plummeting since kidney filtration. See what I'm saying? Absolutely. So as you're starting to get kidney filtration, and this is true with almost everyone out there, guys, when you get kidney filtration, now you're opening up the kidney channel. The kidneys now can eliminate not only their own tissue waste, but the waste systemically. So here comes, the troops. So everybody's coming out, and then everybody kind of settles down. It's neat to see it because it's proof positive that what you're doing is accurate and correct and true. You can verify that. So we started filtering last July. You kindly answered my first letter in February this year about hypothyroid, chronic parathyroid, and signs, here we go, signs of pituitary weakness, see? So, that does bring, where I was lacking some information, since then I've had a TSH reading of, oh my gosh, 0.7. Well, you want TSH realistically, even when T4s and T3s are within normal ranges, you want your TSH to probably be at least 2 to 3. And he's 0.7. So that's real low. That's real low. You would almost suspect hyperthyroidism, not hypothyroidism, because in a hypothyroidism, you expect your TSH to climb because your pituitary is trying to get the thyroid to work. When you're low, when you're high, your thyroid's always working. The pituitary sets back. Why should I produce TSH when the thyroid is pumping it out, baby? So when you can see in that something's off here, and that off would be pituitary weakness. And then the blowback could go downstairs, and then the parathyroid weak, the thyroid weak, the adrenals weak, all the other glands weak. So working on that pituitary, and I would use the pituitary herbal as opposed to the glandular side, and every once in a while visit that formula. And at the same time, upper circ, brain and nerve, work on your GI tract so the sinuses can drain. Which I was told is normal. And he says, but I doubt it. That's not normal. 0.7 is too low in my opinion. That would be indicative, like I said, of hyperthyroidism. I don't know what physician or endocrinologist told you that, but 0.7 is a bit on the low side. I follow blood work and hormones and steroids all the time. And when you see a 0.7, you can correlate that to symptomology here, because the pituitary is low. Now, you can correlate this, Tom, with your eye. Get your eyes and see if you have the right eye just a little past 12 o'clock, right up above the bowel rim, and left side, a little same place, but on the left side of 12 o'clock. Excuse me, I'm sorry. My temperatures, you mean basal probably, are sitting between 90... His basals are 95.4 to 95.7. I've always said, when you're in the 95s, you can expect the parathyroids to be involved as well. And those questions you ask me are relative to what you're going through. Your basals are extremely low. So if it was me, that is real low. I might touch the thyroid. I generally don't much, but I would probably touch the thyroid with a glandular of no more than 150 milligrams of desiccated thyroid tissue, because 95 is a snoozer. You have to be freezing inside, because 95 is extremely low. And whenever I see in the 95s, I see parathyroid involvement as well. So this is a good focus for you. The parathyroid, I highly recommend a glandular, because we don't know what herbs are good for the parathyroid gland, or berries. I assume the same is good for all the rest of them, but a little more thump on that parathyroid is always a good idea. But again, it sounds like you need to go on the herbal pituitary. And you might have to work this. Just remember the symbiotic relationship between the pituitary and the sinus and the transverse colon. You must work on the GI tract if you want success upstairs. And that's, GI broom, stomach and bowel formulas, capsulated lymphatic formulas, anything that's astringent and things like that draw on the bowel wall. But in reality, That lymph system has to be addressed because it's the lymph system in the bowel wall that becomes problematic as well, of course. And that's kidney and adrenal issues. Or skin, because here's the thyroid down. And if Tom's thyroid is down like this, then the chances, Tom, of your skin being down is high. Because after a number of years of not being able to sweat or get those low body temperatures, your skin is going to back up a little bit lymphatically. So that's something you want to think about. Get yourself some saunas there, some steam or dry saunas, and get yourself up there and see if you can sweat. At the same time, I'd be after that thyroid, parathyroid, pituitary. You could address all three of them at the same time, really whap them. Put an herbal pituitary, a 150 milligram thyroid, and a 50 milligram parathyroid, say 1 TID. On the parathyroid, I would do 2 TID, which is 3 times a day, and go after that baby. Of course, you're pretty chronic in that level. A 95 is a chronic pituitary. I think a 0.7 is a very weak, thyroid. I think a 0.7 is a very weak pituitary. So your eyes will confirm the degree of that weakness, or you just have a bunch of lymph saturating the gland. I'm taking the right glandulars, oh good, etc., and following what you teach in class. I've also had blood in my stool since I can remember, with a very compromised digestive system. Yeah, I don't like bloods in stools, all right? Especially, you know what, you don't want the dark blood. If you see bright red blood, then you know you're up in the rectal area. You know you either have fissures or you have a hemorrhoid or something like that. That would be a case where you're thinking about parathyroid weakness because your vascular wall is real thin there and you're getting bleeding, like a capillary bleed. So you want to strengthen that. And I would also strengthen that by using lower circulation. Fruits, of course, and vegetables are high flavonoids, and they strengthen vascular walls as well. How's your blood doing now in your stools? Yeah, you want to strengthen and correct that. But generally, when you see blood, you have very thin capillary walls, and you got to fix that. Or a fissure or something like that, which you got to fix all these things. So perhaps a transverse colon pituitary connection, I would say that's definitely. I have never seen a healthy bowel and then a pituitary that's weak. Never. In my entire world. 4 years, I've never, and I've been doing ice pictures about that long too. I've never seen a clean, healthy transverse colon and a pituitary problem. Interestingly. Never seen that. So they're definitely transverse colon. Tom, you're learning a lot here. This is good, Tom. Well, I tell you, you'll make a good healer. That's for sure. Not only are you healing yourself, but you're getting this. You proved on yourself, and you guys that are proving this on yourself, you'll make the fine healers this world needs. Because you proved you didn't learn by a book. You learned by applying concepts of truth to yourself. Concept of chemistry, physics, and nature. And you guys are winning the day. And those are the healers. Not people that read things out of books and theories. They don't make good healers because they have no clue. You guys, on the other hand, are the future healers of this planet. Proud of you. Proud of you. I have read one of Jensen's iridology books, but my skills are still not up to scratch. You know what? Remember, iridology is a very simple science. Oh, okay. Oh, wow, I got to go then. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I got something that has to come up, so I have to go take care of this, and then, I'm going to try to sneak in here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. But I'm going to try to sneak in here and got a couple more hours going on here. Okay, so let's see if I can take off here and finish this up, Tom. And don't be overwhelmed with things like iridology and stuff. It's simple science. Our class is real simple. I teach simplicity of everything because that's the best way to learn is simplicity. That's also the way Patty taught her A&P classes. And she was always ribbed by the professors to add more, learn the 300 bones of the jaw, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, the problem with that sort of thing is retention of that. If you're into that science where you're a surgeon, you're realigning bones and stuff, yeah. But if you're just healing people, why? And even a medical doctor, why would you need to know all the bones in the body? That's ridiculous. Takes up space. that you could use to help people and enjoy your world. I'd be so grateful for a quick look in the eyes so I can understand what... Oh, okay. With regards to the nervous system, I have energy, but it runs out fast. That's the adrenals. You're not holding a charge. And that's what MS people have to... And neurological... And it always goes back to the adrenals. When you can't hold a charge, that's low neurotransmitter stuff, but your blood pressure is 90-something. So it just goes to show you that you have low neurotransmitters, your myelin sheaths are down, and you're not holding the charge. Again, that's the adrenal glands. Mostly from mental engagement, but also everything remotely explosive. I'd imagine I'm dealing with the central nervous system in the head rather than... It's possible. Let's look. 6 to 7 months ago, the adrenal glandulars made me weak and nervous. See, you reach saturation. And I've said this, be careful with these glandulars. They're using them too much. Go to the herbs after a short period of time because you'll reach energetic saturation. I mean, it's true in chemistry as well. There's a saturation to chemistry, ionization, as there is to physics, magnetics. And you just have to be aware of that you can't overhit something because you'll reach energetic saturation and they'll go down the other way. So go to the herbs in the diet, Tom. So let's look at this. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. P.S. Your smaller green crystal was in my dream about 16 months ago. You guys will see what this is really about coming. There's Tom's right eye. And there's Tom's left eye. All right. Now, Tom, beautiful constitution, my man. Beautiful constitution. Since I'm stuck on the left side first, let's go to the left side here. All right, so I'm just going to go quick. I apologize, but I'm just going to go quick, Tom. All right, so you're malabsorbed. You have interstitial lymphatic constipation. It's white, so it's acute. So all the white you see in your eye is lymphatic stagnation. Now, you don't have a lot of it. So you've got a nice eye here to work with. Your sinuses are definitely involved. That's above. That's all the white just above the bowel rim. You have some stomach issues. You've got a little burn in the stomach here going on. So you want to fix that up. Get the stomach to heal itself, of course. Looking at your left kidney, you have some genetics there. I call that subacute. Your left leg is weak. The femur that's going up into that hip is weak, and also that left hip is weak. The testicle on the right side is in the subacute to chronic weaknesses as well. Looking at the rectal wall, you've got a little weakness up in the rectum. And that's probably where you're getting your bleeding. It goes in probably about 4 or 5 inches up into the rectal area. It's right from the anus right up in. And there is a genetic weakness there. It's probably where you're getting that. You might do low-level implantations of Heal OT and let that heal up. Or use the burn salve up in and let that soak in and heal that, because that is a genetic weakness. A lot of lymph stagnation in the wall, though. That's kind of burning it back. Prostate. You got some prostate. Your prostate is on the borderline of subacute chronic. Genetics from the family tree there. A little bladder, not too bad. A little neck or throat. Thyroid, definitely involved. Definitely involved right on the chronic level in the left eye. Tonsils are not real happy. The brain looks pretty good. I mean, you might have a spot in the cerebellum. That's not too bad. Bronchial trunk's a little bit. But not too bad. Get the skin breathing a little bit. I don't see any nerve rings, Tom. So, as you know, you might have a couple here on the right side, but not too much. Right kidney weakness for sure. Right knee. A lot of lymph stagnation. One little groin weakness going on there. A little hip on the right side. You might check this out. I'd have to map this out. I'm going real quick, but you might check the pancreas. You know, to map your eye out and see. If that's not pancreas, that is probably the hip on that side. I think the pancreas looks pretty good. The gallbladder, you got a little lymph stagnation in that. The liver, you could cup up on the liver a little bit, get it tuned up a little bit. Got a couple lymph nodes swelling in the throat area and the thyroid as well. I don't know if you have a nodule in the right thyroid, but it looks like you have a little nodule going on there. But you got great genes, man. Great genes. Now, looking up at your upper T-spine, this is probably not the C, probably the upper T's. You've got some genetics in the upper T's with a lot of inflammation. Mid-back, you have a little subacute weakness going there. Thyroid on the right thyroid gland looks better than the left for sure, but still a little genetics involved in that, along with the pituitary-wise, not bad. You got a lot of lymph stagnation in the pituitary gland, but it's basically acute to subacutely weak, not bad at all, but the pineal gland is also involved. Looking at the left eye at the pituitary, yeah, you have some subacute pituitaries. It's not much. You'll be able to take care of this real easy as you strengthen the body. Little frontal lobe weakness going on there on the left side, but you got great eyes, bro. Even your sclera, you got some blood vessels going, but I'm going to say, think about the spleen sometime. Put yourself on the spleen formula for a month or so. Get that cooked up. Chest wall weakness over here on the left chest wall, but you know, you've got good eyes to fix up and get yourself strong. You don't have hardly any neurological weakness, so you could have some neurotoxicity. I don't know if you have amalgam fillings in the mouth or whatever, but you could have some neurotoxicity with that. But I have to run, but I will be back. They'll probably put this one up, and I'll start another one. That way this is not too long for you. And I love you guys. Thanks a lot so much for bearing with me, and I apologize. I'm always on the go and things to do, and I wish I could just sit down here for days and just get caught up with you. Maybe I'll have that opportunity when I get back. I'm going to be gone for about a week. Got some things to do. So, but I'll try to get in here tomorrow and give a shout out and see how you guys are doing. Tom, good work. All you guys. Thanks for the good questions. You guys are kicking butt. And it's just you're proving on yourself the truth of it all. And it's exciting. Look at all the healing that's going on. So, even though everything isn't perfect, it's still a lot better than what's on the planet so far, and we'll make it perfect, won't we? Love you all.